Hi, my name's Victoria Mendez, and I don't specifically identify as male or female. But just so you know, I have some notes that I've written down because this is kind of a scary video for me to film. It makes me a little nervous, so if you see me constantly glancing down, I just wanted to make sure that I went over some specific points, and this is kind of my security blanket for this video. I find distinct genders come with distinct stereotypes, and I don't really fit into any of those distinct stereotypes, so that's, why I don't particularly identify as female or male. By the typical definition of being a female as a child, I should have liked playing with dolls, but I found them extremely creepy and terrifying. So I always played with Hot Wheels instead, which is typically a male-gendered toy. I don't understand why toys are gendered, but there you go. I also think holding in farts because it's unladylike is dumb. Now, on a human basis, if you're around a bunch of people, hold your fart and take it somewhere else so that nobody else has to smell it, but that's just a basic human decency. I also love my power tools. Like, give me my circular saw, give me my drill, I will build stuff. I enjoy making things with my hands and having things in my home that I know that I made and I had a part in. Anyways, most of the time I present as female. Some days I feel more masculine, but most days I feel feminine. I don't care what pronouns are used to describe me as long as they are being used in a respectful manner. Most people refer to me as she or her since I am anatomically female and don't identify as transgender. In other words, I just see myself as a human being that doesn't care much for the rigid standards of gendered stereotypes. I do like using she and her because it's just easier. I tend to take the path of least resistance with a lot of things in life, but as long as someone refers to me respectfully, I'm fine with it. Like, I've literally had someone refer to me as, "Hey, you with the face," and I responded to it because they were just trying to get my attention, and then they apologized for forgetting my name and then used my name from then on out. But, I mean, just be respectful of each other, please. Also, I want to get this out of the way now. Just because I married a straight man does not make me straight. Now let's talk about pansexuality. For pansexuals, sexual attraction is not based on identity or gender. I don't care what's in between your legs, and I don't care how you identify. Now, I'm not meaning that in a mean way. I'm just saying that, like, if my husband came home one day and decided to tell me that he was transgender, I would be fine with that. If he came home one day and he was like, "I identify as a giraffe person," I'd be like, "Okay, giraffe person, whatever, you're tall, I guess. Whatever you're happy with, I'm happy with, because I'm attracted to you, your mind, your personality, and I really just don't care what's in between your legs. I care more for who the person is as a whole." So for a little bit of background, I was raised in a heavily religious environment where thinking about a difference of being a cis male or female did not exist. And I was taught that the only form of sexuality that was appropriate was being straight. It wasn't until my sophomore year of undergrad that I really started to consider that I could be anything other than a straight female. In middle and high school, I knew something was a little different because, like a lot of people at that age will start heavily identifying sexual attraction to, physicality and body parts and all that jazz, but I didn't identify with that. I didn't really care what men specifically looked like. I didn't really care what women specifically looked like. I only cared about, how that person was as a person rather than being physically attracted to a body type. But at the time, I just kind of brushed that off to the side because, I was still at home in that area where being straight was the only thing that was appropriate. So I was just kind of like, well, maybe I'll eventually be sexually attracted to people for their bodies. During my first 2 years of undergrad, I was exposed to the spectrum of the LGBTQ plus community, or the GRSM community, whatever alphabet soup acronym you want to use for it. The queer community, the not cis community, you call it whatever you want to call it, man. But it was really when my best friend Dylan, who I've known since 7th grade, came out to me as gay. That really enabled me to think about my own sexuality, because, I mean, we were raised in the same environment. We were taught that being anything but straight wasn't right, and it was a choice. And for him to come out to me and say, you know, even though I was raised in this religious environment and I've struggled with this heavily, it's not a choice. It's not a choice. And him being brave enough to tell me that really just kind of hit home for things that I was already feeling and beginning to acknowledge when he told me that. And that mind shift set was what I really needed to acknowledge things that I had known about myself for a while. Like, maybe this sexuality thing, maybe I don't have to be attracted to people for their bodies. Maybe there is something a little different going on here. I don't really remember when exactly I finally came out to myself, but it had to have been between my sophomore and junior year of college, because that was when I was moving out of the dorms and into an apartment. And when I was looking for roommates, my parents were pretty strict about wanting me to pick only female roommates. And I remember telling my dad at the time, it doesn't matter to me whether they're male or female, just FYI, like, I'm not just gonna go get in somebody's pants just because they have a certain genitalia. I don't really care what genitalia they have, you know? And to be honest, I'm not sure he understood that at the time, and I'm still not sure that he understands that. I mean, he's so cis male that I'm not sure that he can understand the gravity of that, and I don't know. It's just confusing. In any case, it doesn't really come up in conversation anymore. So why am I finally coming out publicly now? Also, hi to all my friends and family that I haven't specifically told, because, I mean, if you're watching this, hi. I didn't really know how to specifically tell you, so I just made a video to make it public, and that's just easier for me. And to be honest, I've been rather afraid of my own family's reaction, so I've also been putting it off just because I don't really feel confrontational about this. Like, I just don't want to deal with it. But at this point of my life, I've finally decided to share my truth. I have a partner and friends who support me for who I am, and they love me for who I am. Plus, it's Pride Month. And I hope someone else can watch this video and maybe it can help them in the same way that Dylan's story helped me. I'm Victoria Mendez, a gender-fluid pansexual, and I'm finally out of the closet. Thanks for listening to the end.